Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details. At Kroger, an annual Boost membership just got even better. Now you can choose from Disney Plus with ads, Hulu with ads, or ESPN Plus on us when you sign up. Plus, enjoy unlimited free delivery, double fuel points, exclusive offers, and free items. Sign up for a Boost membership today. It's an easier way to save, including new streaming options to relax with while we deliver your groceries. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Hey, fly guys and girls. This is Ross Holliban of Fantha Tracks, and you're listening to Aaron and David, the heroes of Star Wars reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All
one of resistance.
we are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I'm a Jedi, like my father before.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Reactions, and Happy New Year. Happy 2025. We are so excited to be back with y'all behind the mic as we continue to plow ahead into the new year with our continuing coverage of Skeleton Crew. So let's get the introductions out of the way and get our talk going because we have been waiting for this one. My name is Aaron Harrison. Joining me is my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the David Motters. David, how you doing, brother?
I am doing awesome. Happy New Year, like you said to everybody. I'm ready to react and looking forward to covering this episode with you. It's like you and I were talking off air just a few minutes ago. I'm really going to miss this series, and each of these episodes keeps getting better. So it is not difficult to find things to talk about. So looking forward to doing that with you, my brother. So we'll get it going.
Let's do it. We're going to have a lot of great things to say. We are talking this week about episode 5 of Skeleton Crew. This episode was entitled You Have a Lot to Learn About Pirates. It was, of course, released December 24th, 2024, directed by Jake Shearer and written by Myung-Jo Wiesner. Hope that was right. We'll find out. Anyway, synopsis for the episode is: the truth of the Onyx Cinder's history is revealed. The vessel is a storage ship of Pirate Captain Tak Rennod, who hid the coordinates of At Attin in his lair on Lanupa. Jod, Wim, Fern, KB, and Neil break into Rennod's secret lair, hidden beneath the luxurious hotel spa. But a new discovery will change everything for our crew.
Nice.
Dun, dun, dun. Of course, that synopsis ripped straight from the StarWars.com website for the episode guide. They do such a good job. Why even try to outdo it? So let's jump into this. David, let me hand it off to you, sir. Share your initial reactions to You Have a Lot to Learn About Pirates.
Yeah, this. I'm absolutely loving this show. I just am. I'm gushing over it. It's not difficult to do, and I was thinking about it. As I look at this whole episode and how fun it is, the the creatures that we're introduced to, the Easter eggs that we come upon, like the Mun banking clan and stuff like that. But also, I think, and we'll get to it as we get towards the end, and we're down in Rennod's secret lair. I just had Indiana Jones vibes. That always makes me feel good. I love the booby traps. I love, the whole process from start to finish with this thing. And, I just, like I said, it's so fun. It's exciting. Like I said, the humor in this one, they took it up a notch. I enjoyed a lot of the humor involved, and we can talk a little bit more about some of those parts as well. And we had a great cliffhanger at the end with Jod or Crimson Jack or whatever, Professor Gorlox, whatever you want to call him, lighting the lightsaber, but they don't show it. So that really set the stage for this next episode that we'll be covering next week. But just really enjoyed it and can't wait to get in and talk more about the details with you. How about you?
Oh, well said. Well said. I got a confession. I got a problem with the series. The problem is it just keeps getting better and better each week, which makes me sound like a broken record every week as I sit here and say, this is my favorite episode to date, because they actually are, man. It keeps getting better and better each week. And this week this episode was no different. Episode 5, you have a lot to learn about pirates, was such a fantastic story building episode. I mean, we got to learn a lot about the Onyx, Cinder, and SM-33 and where they came from. And we get to see some character growth with Wim. And in return, we get even more confused about who Jod is. I mean, there's so much going on. It's crazy. This series, the episodes like this and this series as a whole, and tend to lead to a lot of speculation. And I know you, David, you and I always speculate, and we do it with Greg in our text messages, Greg McLaughlin from Rebel Base Card. But it leads to a lot of speculation. And of course, if you've listened to the show for a while, we don't dabble in speculation here on reactions. We try to keep it to just the facts. We share our opinions about the episode, but we don't speculate about what's to come. But if you want to hear some of my speculative theories, check out the recent Breakfast Pack number 94 from Rebel Base Card podcast, where I joined Greg and Frank Mulder as we talked about this particular episode. And let's just say the speculative theories flowed from all of us. But yeah, this was just a fantastic episode. I loved everything, and there were just so many nods and references and just visuals that just kind of made you feel more in Star Wars, and so much fun. So great episode. So let's jump into these talking points that we have down here that we wanted to talk about. And things start off in this episode back on At Attin, and we see the parents of our lost kids trying to take action into their own hands. And we see that with the mother of Neil and, of course, Wendell, the father of Wim, having a discussion. They pass off some tech, and of course Wendell has to try to hack a code so they can transmit off planet, because that's not allowed, obviously. And the nerves, you can see Wendell's all nervous, he's sweating bullets and everything, and it kind of felt, he definitely was more of a Johnny English type than a James Bond. If you've watched British comedy movies, you understand that reference. But he was very out of character for him, and he ends up getting caught and taken before Fern's mother, the assistant supervisor, and things get a little more action taken there as the records are deleted and everything. And we see these parents trying to do something to find their kids. So I wanted to start with that because, I could tell you, I know, David, you were both parents, and if our kids were missing, we wouldn't be sitting on the sidelines, that's for sure. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the parents stepping up and taking action to try to help find their kids.
Well, I guess a number of thoughts. One is it's good to see that. And at the same time, what it does is, that's why, the writers of this are so good, is it gives us, more information, right? Like in the first one, we do see Fern's mom in school, and we don't know much about her, but in this one, we see where she is. We see where her office is. But one thing I was thinking about was when you see her, like, what is she? Undersecretary Farah, or I think that's her first name, Farah. Like, that's what Wendell calls her. Right? If you look out the window, that's where the supervisor is. So she's not, it's still like at this distance, like the supervisor is off at a distance. And so this whole interaction of them trying to do this, it shows that Farah has a higher position than Wendell, but she's still, they're still in a tight spot. And like we said before, we don't know who this supervisor is up in the big tower, right? So it was really,
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details. At Kroger, an annual Boost membership just got even better. Now you can choose from Disney Plus with ads, Hulu with ads, or ESPN Plus on us when you sign up. Plus, enjoy unlimited free delivery, double fuel points, exclusive offers, and free items. Sign up for a Boost membership today. It's an easier way to save, including new streaming options to relax with while we deliver your groceries. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Good to see this start, and and to see how, the parents, to a large extent, it's this unique challenge that they've never faced, and probably most parents haven't, right, on this planet, where their kids find a lost spaceship and shoot off past the barrier. But it is kind of neat too, I would say this, to hear them talk about, trying to get a code out there. It wouldn't, what did Wendell say? It wouldn't jeopardize people finding At Attin, but it would allow the kids to at least know they're looking for them or send them back. I wasn't fully sure on that, but anyways, those are just a few thoughts. But I thought it was a good start to the process there. How about you?
Oh, well said. I thought it was definitely a nice glimpse of what was happening at home. Because, like I said, it's something I would be doing, was doing everything I can to find it. My kids, if they were missing, I'd be doing the same thing. So I think it does make it more of it kind of connects a little bit more of the story, because now we're seeing what the kids are going through. But the parents are just as involved in the story as the kids are, even though the kids are the ones missing. The parents have a story to tell with how they're handling the loss of their kids and how they're trying to bring their families back together, while at the same time operating within the confines of a shutdown society.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good look, and he gave us a little bit more of a look into what life is like on At Attin, with, of course, this discussion of the supervisor and needing codes to transmit off planet and all this stuff. It reveals more of the lockdown status of the planet. Then, of course, when we find out everything at the end of this particular episode, we now understand why.
Yes.
As that reveal comes at the end of the episode.
Well, and I was going to piggyback off what you said, buddy. You got me thinking. I was wondering if, like, when Wendell is sitting there at his terminal, and then I think back to the kids talking on the Onyx Cinder an episode or two ago. They're like, well, Neil's like, well, what does your mom do? What does your dad do? And they're all analysts or whatever. And I guess one of my things is does Wendell know, like, well, what we do every day is we're looking at money every day on our computer screens. Now that's not revealed, right? But
no.
You wonder if they know, right, that there's a mint there. Like if someone does, or just a supervisor knows that. Do they think they're analysts of something else? But anyway, it just was something I was thinking about. Like how much does Wendell and Farah know? I'm curious what they're looking at on their computer screens there, Anyways, just got me thinking.
So, I mean, they could be analyzing anything. They could be analyzing production in the mines. They could be analyzing conversion rates for the ores coming out of the mines, energy consumption, population. I mean, there's any number of things they could be analyzing, but as well as the money as well. But yeah, it makes you wonder too how the work is divided. Is it divided up so that everybody kind of that a couple of people could start piecing together what's going on on the planet? Or if you're analyzing this, you analyze this over here, you analyze this here, and because nobody has all the pieces, nobody can speculate. Nobody knows exactly what's going on
and how much money's there. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm with you on that. I think it's probably like need to know, keep people in the dark about certain things, and that keeps everything running. Don't let anybody have any big ideas. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So from there, we depart from the At Attin and rejoin our found crew there on the Onyx Cinder, where we begin to discover things in this episode about SM-33 and, of course, the ship that they're on. After being reawakened, we find out that
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
KB did some bypassing so he wouldn't, come back online and try to kill him like he did in the last episode, and reactivates him, and he comes back online. And now, next thing we know, he's sharing the story of what the ship is and his story about his captain. We find out that the ship is the Onyx Cinder, and that the captain is Tak Rennod, who, of course, is a world-renowned pirate that Jod recognizes immediately. And, of course, I guess he would have the same reputation about him as, a certain Jack Sparrow or something like that. So,
yeah.
It's a very recognizable name. Tak Rennod is. Apparently there's even songs written about him. But we find out how he was killed and everything, how he ended up on At Attin, the whole 9 yards. Then of course we find out that the coordinates for At Attin are stored in Rennod's lair back under Skull Mountain. So they proceed to go to Skull Mountain. And on their way, of course, we have this touching little moment between Jod and Wim, because Wim finally gets to his breaking moment where he just realizes, I just want to go home. I'm way in over my head. He breaks down crying. Jod tries to encourage him. He's like, yeah, you'll see your mom and dad soon. And he's like, no, I won't. My mom is gone. Of course, you see Jod just kind of, his shoulders just drop, and he begins discussing with them the importance of maintaining hope, and even quotes Qui-Gon Jinn at one point in this conversation there, and it's a nice touching scene. Now I wanted to get your thoughts, David, on the breaking moment that Wim had, and of course how Jod stepped in to try to encourage him at this moment.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I saw this coming. Wim has been one of the only characters, the four main characters, who really, I guess KB hasn't talked a lot about going home, maybe if at all. She doesn't say a whole lot, but Wim is always like, wanting to have a great time. Let's stay on the adventure. A couple of episodes ago, Wim is back in the captain's quarters and putting on the hat, looking through the telescope, and wanting adventure. And when Neil says, well, we're going to go to the spaceport, Wim perks up and says, wait, we're going to the spaceport, and so this whole time he's just been having a great time, wants to fly the ship, etc. And now he's at a point where it's like, what? It hits him. It'll hit any kid at any time, right? One kid is good for a week at camp, another kid 2 weeks, but there is something to say about the safety of home, being attached, and so on. Something I was thinking about is, you and I have talked as we've covered Star Wars over many years. Our kids have grown older, and Aaron and I were together at Galaxy's Edge. We were at Star Wars weekends before Galaxy existed, and it's been really fun that my daughter has been wanting to watch this with me. In fact, we've watched every episode together, and as we were watching this, and Aaron just asked about this issue of Jod speaking to Wim. You can tell the galaxy, it's a scary place. It's scary and confusing. And I think when Wim says that, I remember my daughter immediately perked up, and she goes, well, like this world, and my daughter is real similar in age to your oldest, and they're making their way out into the world. And it's no joke. This is a tough go. Especially with, the news over the last 10, 15, 20 years, right? I mean, even 2001, we had, 24 years ago, we had 9/11. So this is a tough thing. So I love that my daughter said that, and it just really, she's really enjoying this show as well. She doesn't want to miss an episode. So that's been very refreshing. I wanted to throw that in there because a lot of times we talk as parents, like, do our kids want to watch Star Wars with us? So, I also would say this speaks to the importance of parents, mentors, if you have a good coach and stuff like that. You and I know, Aaron, that Jod doesn't really want to deal with kids, right? But he is willing to sit down and talk with him. And, he says something to Wim that's worked for him, meaning Jod. Just get rid of attachments, Now that, we could talk about a lot of stuff related to that and why does he quote Qui-Gon Jinn and so on. But if you think about it, part of my master's thesis and doctoral dissertation, it has attachment theory in it. My primary professor, Dr. Douglas Barnett, that was a big part of his research for years and years and years, is attachment, securely attached kids, insecurely attached kids. And part of the thing that we know is that when kids are securely attached, they tend to be emotionally more healthy. It's easier for them to leave the nest, to make friendships and so on. Insecurely attached kids struggle with more anxiety, behavioral issues, and so on. I mean, anybody can check out the literature. It's pretty clear cut. So I want to say this. I'm giving a psychology corner within this episode, buddy. So on the one hand, I hear why he's saying it, and that works in the pirate's life. But for these kids, they are attached to their parents, and you hope that they're securely attached, and it helps for more, better development of these kids. So there's just some thoughts on that. I think Jod does a decent job, but not what you not what you and I would initially like to see, with his disgust and turning around and not really wanting to talk to him. As soon as, Wim says, well, I'm never going to see my mom again, and of course conveys that she's dead, he finally turns around and sits down and talks with him. But anyways, just a few thoughts and a little mini psychology corner there, Aaron.
That's why I turned it over to you, because I knew I was going to get one.
All right. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're the man. You're the man.
You know how to pull that out of me. You always do.
I try.
You float them out there. Oh, here's a little thing for you, Dave. I'm like, all right, Aaron, I know what you're doing.
Well, so it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
That's right.
So we end up going to Lanupa, which of course is where the Tak Rennod's lair is supposedly hidden. When they arrive, of course, they are met by two ships as they're coming in, and I love this moment because nobody knows they're on Lanupa, and in comes the Onyx Cinder, and you see the mountains and the snow-covered peaks, and next thing you know, there's two ships that come in front of him, and he's like, oh, and SM-33 is like, oh, must be a band of buccaneers or whatever. And Jod looks at him, he's like, those look like pleasure yachts. Mm-hmm. And then the two guiding ships come in and to escort him in, and they're like, welcome to Lanupa. No violence, please. And Jod loses it, starts laughing. You brought us to Lanupa? He goes, and then of course, SM-33 in pure form, that's known by many names: the Devil's Rest, Battle World, Lanupa. It's just like, it's just perfect. And that's one great thing about this show is the comedic elements are all peppered through this.
Oh,
which is what makes this show so much fun. And of course, we end up landing on SM-33. Of course, there's no kids allowed, so they dress the kids up as the elders.
Right.
I can't remember what he called them, the holy elders or something like that.
The wise elders.
The wise elders. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, the wise elders. And they come out and they're all in these costumes and hiding their faces and everything because kids aren't allowed. And the wise elders come in and they are escorting him through. And I think it's hilarious how they're dressed up and disguised. And then, of course, he's just babbling to them. He's like, they don't speak basic. They're not permitted to speak basic. So let me translate. And Jod just starts going, blah, 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 blah. And the kids look at him and just blah, 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 back at him, which just adds to the just pure kidness of this series. But then, of course, what the point I was trying to get to with all this is as they're going into the luxury resort and everything, the one person who cannot put his head around where they're at is SM-33. Not only do they fit him with a restraining bolt that supposedly curbs his violent tendencies, which is hilarious in and of its own right, he is just absolutely disgusted with what he sees. He's like basically something along the lines of, Captain would be furious about this. And then he goes walking in, and there's a lady there playing a harp. And you hear him and if you're not listening, you'll miss these little remarks. You'll hear him say something, you can't sing a shanty with a hop. Or then if something along the lines of, the captain would be in an awful temper if he saw this, a buffet. I mean, just little things like that. Or where are the battle pits? I mean, it's just little things like that. Just, you could tell are just grinding his gears. And he's getting upset, but he can't get upset because when he does, and he gets mad and he wants to act out, he goes into almost an electric shock and freezes for a moment because of the restraining bolt.
Right.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on SM-33, man, because I love this droid. But what were your thoughts on him and his role here, getting them to Lanupa, and his reaction when he arrives?
No, you know, this is part of why my initial reactions, I had mentioned, you know, the humor. Like you said, the back and forth between SM-33 and Jod as they're coming into the spas at Skull Ridge Mountain, which, you know, what they're called now. Mm-hmm. It's just great. And like you said, this is where, you know, I've said it to you, said it to our listeners. I always watch it once with subtitles and then once without, but you got to have them on because of like what you said. I mean, you could crank your volume up, but if you have them on, you'll hear his little commentary. And the one that I think you can hear the best, you don't really need the subtitles, but the one about the shanty, can't play a shanty with a harp and so on, is he says it out loud, and they show this beautiful shot of the spas at Skull Ridge. He goes, "They've ruined it."
Yes.
That was just perfect comedy. You know, he's looking at it and it's of course gorgeous and he thinks it looks horrible. So just that whole thing was just, it was really funny. And I thought it was so good. And even the kids too. From what the Bratrick system, I think, symbolizing that they're brats, right, or something.
Yes.
But yes, this is great for SM-33, and I would encourage anybody to kick those subtitles on for at least a little bit and get all of his little, you know, side commentary as the lady is showing them the beautiful aspects of the spa.
Absolutely. And of course, this leads to more questions about Jod Na Rennod, or excuse me, Jod Na Nawood. As while they're checking in, you hear a voice shout out, "Is that Dash Zenton?" As this pale lady comes walking over, and we discover that it is a bounty hunter named Pockets, who used to work with Dash Zenton, a.k.a. Jod Na Nawood, a.k.a. Captain Silvo, a.k.a. Crimson Jack, a.k.a. Jodwick Zank, and as of this episode, a.k.a. Professor Gorlix. And she's like, you know, last time I saw you left me drowning in a pit of leeches, which is definitely not a good place to be. And of course, she's like, oh, you know, I'm on vacation. I don't check the pucks anymore, but it's good seeing you. And of course, as she's walking off, she tells the kids to don't trust this Slimo as she leaves. Then, of course, that puts Jod in a panic at this point because he knows she's going to call in the bounty that Captain Brutus has put on him, and the kids. And she does. She goes, she calls Brutus. She's like, I got him. Zenton, Silvo, whatever you call him. I'm calling in the bounty. Here's the coordinates. Where's my money? And of course, Brutus is like, I'm sending 2 ships. You'll get the money when I get them. Yeah. And she's like, okie dokie. And of course, at that point, like you said, Jod is in a panic. They get to their room and he's like, we got to break up into teams and we got to find the symbol that SM-33 shows them, which is Rennod's emblem. He goes, we got to find that symbol. That's going to mark the entrance to the lair. We got to find that. We got to split up into teams. We got to do it before the pirates. And he's just in a pure panic. And meanwhile, the kids are being kids, jumping up and down the bed and having pillow fights.
Right. And more humor, right?
And more humor, yeah. And he's like, are you listening to me? And they're like, what? He goes, are you listening to, what did I just say? And he's like, are you listening to us?
Right.
That's just
Fern.
Yeah, Fern is a kid answer, how many times I've looked at my kid and been like, did you hear anything I said? She goes, yes. What did I say? You asked me if I heard anything you said. Seriously, kid? But it was the perfect kid answer.
Oh yeah, totally.
Perfect kid answer. And of course they end up splitting up into teams and going to hunt for the lair. And we have Fern and Wim along with SM-33 going down into the mud pits, while Jod and Neil and KB are going looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. And I really wish, there was that scene where Jod and he's analyzing the writing on the wall with KB, and I wish we could have seen enough to actually translate what was written there.
Me too.
Because it's curious. It's, carved into the wall, which is insane, which is awesome. So, but this leads us down into the pits where they're trying to help. They bump into a extremely large alien, which is was it Thalops? Cathalops. That's going to help them in this situation, because by this point the resort security is chasing Jod and Neil and KB, and of course pirates have arrived looking for them as well.
Oh yeah.
So when you say when it rains, it pours.
I got to say this, humor-wise, when you watch the two pirate ships land, one of the ships kind of crunches down on top of a ship that's already there. And then I went back, of course, watching it a second time. I realized when the Onyx Cinder lands, like some big thing, it looks like it would be the hub of a wheel, but it's huge, comes down and smashes on top of another ship that was there.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, little nods like that. Just funny. Just funny. But yes, here comes the pirates. Here comes the security for the spas. So,
and speaking of the humor of the pirates arriving, when they swoop into the planet and you see them following that same mountain course that the Onyx Cinder did at the beginning, the two guide ships come in, welcome to Lanupa. And as it's giving the speech, you just see the two ships explode. Boom, boom. And the second pirate ship comes into view. I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, it's kind of what I expected. When I saw them pull up against next to the pirate ship, I'm like, he's going to blow them out of the sky. And then boom, they went off. But it was great there. But we get into the tunnels. And to me, at this point, going into these tunnels, it gets very much Goonie-ish. It reminds me of a combination of the Goonies and a little bit of the Last Crusade.
Oh, yes.
At that point, because you got that one laser that comes out and decapitating people just like the Blades did in Return of the or Last Crusade.
Yep.
You got all these things going through, then you got to solve the clues and everything like you did in both movies. But what I found unique was when they got down to basically the pool, which ends up being a pool of acid.
Mm-hmm.
And they find the writing on the roof that talks about making the greatest sacrifice to reach wherever. I forget the exact saying. But we find out, everybody's thinking, the greatest sacrifice, you got to sacrifice somebody's life. Somebody's got to give their life for us to proceed further. And all of a sudden you hear And of course, this is where the title comes into play. You hear Jod go, "You've got a lot to learn about pirates." And they're like, "You're right. Rennod would not have cared about somebody's life. He was a killer to begin with. He always killed. He had no value of life. So what did he value?" And then it hit him, treasure. So he tosses the last Republic credit that he stole from Wim into the acid, and the acid drains and they can proceed. But I loved this moment because it was almost a teaching moment for the kids by Jod, because he's basically teaching them pirates aren't, they don't value the things that we value, which if you think about after seeing the end of this episode, you realize he's kind of giving a glimpse about what is about to happen.
That's right.
And I found that quite unique at that moment, because as we proceed further, we get into the lair. There's the gold and everything everywhere, and it's like, don't touch anything, kind of like the Cave of Wonders in Aladdin. Don't touch anything. There's so many nods around here. But the Cave of Wonders, don't touch anything, find something that doesn't belong. And of course, what does Wim find?
Well, Neil sees that food, right?
Neil finds the food, but what does Wim find? Wim finds his lightsaber.
Oh,
a random lightsaber just sitting on a pedestal, which in and of itself generates so many questions. Whose lightsaber is it? Where did it come from? What's the story behind this lightsaber? So many questions there. But then, of course, Neil finds the food, which all the food on the table is rotten, but this isn't, and ends up revealing the captain's log. The pedestal rises from the ground. SM-33 logs in. They get the coordinates to At Attin, and that's when the truth comes out, and Jod discovers that At Attin, the reason it was hidden is because it is an old Republic mint.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everything changes at this moment. Because at that moment, you can see the look in Jod's face as he just finally figures out, I have my golden ticket.
Yeah.
And at which point he turns to SM-33 and goes and initiates a challenge of authority against the captain. So Jod versus Fern.
Yeah.
And it does not go well for them. And long story short, she yields. Jod becomes captain, and they leave. And the kids end up escaping through a secret passage that they had discovered right before they found the pedestal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are you? Of course,
Yeah.
For me, this was a matter of time before Jod turned on the kids. It was a little bit surprising, but kind of not. But what were your thoughts at this point when he initiated the challenge and took control of SM-33 at that point, because he won it?
I think I was sad. I was saddened by it. I was like, oh man, I was kind of hoping he would kind of help them, stick with them, and kind of see it through, But just like you said, as you look back through the episodes, you get hints all over the place, and there's no mincing of words. Don't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Kim calls him Crimson Jack, and she tells KB, don't trust, or like, why are you guys with him? What are you doing? And of course, we see Pocket say the same thing. Don't trust this Slimo. So we see it all over the place. Brutus, right? I mean, and at the very first episode, Captain Silva is going to get us a big haul. Open it up. There's one credit in there, So I guess overall, I think I was holding out hope that he would not do this, not betray them, but ultimately you can see that he kept them around. Like he comes back in that episode, excuse me as I cough, the last episode, right? Episode 4, you know, he comes back and gets them because he needs them still to figure this process out, right?
Yep.
And then ultimately they do. And like you said, and I love that you said it, as soon as he figures out, oh, that's the treasure of this planet, you know, I was wondering what it was. You can see his demeanor change, and you're like, ruh-roh, you know, a Scooby-Doo ruh-roh, and it was on. And I have to admit, you know, you'd mentioned, you know, kind of what ends up happening. They, you know, Wim comes out with a lightsaber and has it turn the wrong way. It's another humorous part of this episode, and he could have lost a limb there real fast, but skids over and stuff. But then they escape. You know, they pull that thing again, and they go down the chute. So I'm glad they got away, but I was saddened to see his perhaps true colors. I hope he'll come around, but yeah, overall saddened. I don't know. What did you think about him really turning tail on them?
You know, he has been such a mystery through this whole series. And every episode, his mystery grows. Who is he really? We started off with his name as Jod Na Nawood and Captain Silvo. Then, of course, Captain Jack. Then, of course, this episode, we got 2 names. We got Dash Zenton and Jodwick Zank. I mean, it's just, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And of course, then he has all these force powers. We see him at the beginning of the episode after they disarm him. He uses the force to pull his knife back and stick it back in its holster, in his sheath behind his back. And we see it just is. Then at the end of the episode, if you mentioned the lightsaber skidding across the room after Wim's failed attempt to light it. You see him pull it in. And this is what really got me. Because you see him at the end of the episode, you see him reach out. He pulls the lightsaber into his hand. And as soon as he grabs it and he rotates his hand around to look at it. And when he does, he gets the most vile, disgusting look on his face as he lights that saber. And of course, you don't see him light it. You just hear it because by that point, the screen has gone black. And it is just absolutely the pure look of just it. To me, it almost looks almost like an evil gotcha moment. As he lights that thing up. And it goes off the air because that face is just so almost mad and upset and almost like there's a grievance there somewhere. What were your thoughts about that final scene with him with that saber?
Oh yeah, I'm tracking with you. As you were just describing it again, I thought of something else. I thought of Obi-Wan Kenobi series, Reva, and what we learned about her, that she was at the Jedi Temple when Order 66 went down. And, we see what ended up happening in the path she took. And I think in previous episodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, when we've covered the first 4 episodes, like I think I'd mentioned maybe I was with Christina when you had family and we ran solo. One of the things I thought about was, when he's Captain Silvo in episode 1 and the guy won't open the sealed door to where the vault, he tells the crew, Brutus and all those guys, throw him out the airlock. And that's what really conveyed to me. He's not a Jedi. Force sensitive, right? Maybe trained at the Jedi Temple or a Jedi Temple somewhere in the galaxy. Was a Padawan. Maybe something happened. Who knows what? Again, a mentor betrays him, whatever. But again, it hints at, again, has Force abilities, maybe had some training, but is definitely not a Jedi with that move in the first episode, as well as betraying them here. So those are my thoughts, and I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's the creatives really wanting us to think about it and to be like, why does he have that face versus smiling or whatever. It's a twisted, vile look, like you said. And I think again, you said the word, I'm gonna mimic it, a grievance there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much a grievance. And like I said at the beginning, we don't go into speculations or anything like that.
But at least the data we have, that's why.
Yes.
Not a Jedi.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. The data we have. Yeah. I'm not going to let us go off on a tangent here, and we're not going to speculate and theorize about where he came from, but just based on the evidence we have, that's what we're looking at. But it is such a mystery, and I think that's one of the things I love about this show is we have that mystery that has 6 episodes in has yet to be revealed. Who is this guy?
That's right.
Who is he? So, now of course, we would be dismissive if we didn't at least, mention some of the Easter eggs to the rest of the galaxy, the rest of the saga in this episode. And I know, David, you had jotted down the banking clan is there, the Mun banking clan. You see them in the mud baths relaxing. Then, of course, to me, one of the ones I did not realize until I actually looked at the episode guide is that the actress who played Pocket, the bounty hunter, an actress named Kelly MacDonald, is not unfamiliar with the world of Disney, as she is the voice of Merida from the Disney Pixar movie Brave. Yeah. So she's already a Disney princess.
Was that 2012, 2013? Right about
Brave? Ooh, good question. When was Brave? That helps if I could type. Brave released. Yeah, 2012, June 2012.
Okay. Right.
June 22nd, 2012 to be exact.
Oh.
Yep. And Kelly MacDonald apparently was the voice, according to that, of Merida, the red-headed Scottish daughter. So that was a cool little nod. The other nod is a little bit more of a nod of respect and honor, which of course is Tak Rennod. And a lot of people, you've probably seen this already because it's been out there for a couple weeks now, but Tak Rennod was actually named after the late director Richard Donner. Richard Donner, of course, doing a lot of fantastic movies. I know for example, he did the Superman with Christopher Reeve, and did a whole bunch of movies. But of course, Rennod is basically just Donner spelled backwards. So that was a nice little nod there. Any other nods that we may have missed that you're aware of, David?
Well, another part of the humor is we see a hut in the mud bath. Yes. And they don't name the huts, I don't believe, as far as I know, or even in the episode guide. But the little guy, I thought, the little guy, I guess he was a character or the same species as someone who was running a game on Canto Bight. But the little guy bringing the food out to this hut, here's where, again, I didn't pick up on it when I didn't have the subtitle. I was just listening, and you couldn't quite hear it. But when I watched it with subtitles, you can see what that little guy is saying. As soon as the Hut grabs him to eat him,
Oh no, not again.
exactly, not again, and so apparently he has been all the way through that Hut system, which is quite a concept to think about. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. A little nod to Return of the Jedi, right? Where Jabba was throwing stuff into his mouth and going from there. So that would be the only other little nod that I was thinking about that was pretty fun. There's probably more stuff that I didn't even pick up on, but yeah, those are some of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are the ones I had. So with that, then let's go ahead and jump into our final reactions and start wrapping things up here. I'll kick off final reactions. For me, it was a fantastic episode. Again, it was just another great mix of storytelling, adventure, humor. It has kept me hooked through all of these episodes. And of course, this is episode 5, and there's only 3 episodes left. And I have to say, in just these 5 episodes, Skeleton Crew has become my favorite of the live action Star Wars shows. And that's taking into account Ahsoka had Chopper in it too. So that says something about how good this show truly is. That it's for me beating out a show that had Chopper in it. But there's a lot that need to be wrapped up in 3 episodes. And it is I'm curious to see where this goes in these final 3 episodes to try to tie things up, because there's a lot to get through. And this, I would truly love to see another season of this, but I don't think we will get it. But for me, again, just a fantastic episode. A lot of good feels, Goonie feels through it, and through everything. And I honestly just cannot wait for more of this series. So, David, how about you? What are your final reactions to You've Got a Lot to Learn About Pirates?
Within the last week or so, I almost watched Goonies again. And I just, especially because of this episode, I really need to watch that. Whether this series was out or not, I just need to watch Goonies again. I need to watch E.T. again, stuff I grew up on. So, but like you, it's so fun. I'm so impressed with this. I think we've talked about it before, that it doesn't feel bogged down by the mythology per se so much, or really, I guess I should say, maybe correct myself, the canon, that canon pressure that you and I've seen, I think that was on Acolyte and Obi-Wan, right, the Kenobi series and so on. There is a pressure there, and here I don't feel like it's there, and I'm just really enjoying this series within the Star Wars universe. Like you'd mentioned, you like it more than Ahsoka, and Ahsoka has Chopper. So again, our listeners, you need to know how big that is for Aaron to say that. I'm in agreement. I like this better than Ahsoka. I like it better than, Acolyte, even Obi-Wan. I mean, I love parts of Obi-Wan. I love Ewan McGregor. I love Hayden Christensen and stuff like that. But so far with these 5 episodes, it's been so fun. These child actors, by the way, have done a great job. I know a lot of people talk about child actors. You mentioned our good buddy Greg McLaughlin, who runs the Rebel Base Card podcast. He listens to a lot of podcasts. And what you'll hear is a concern across podcasts about child actors. And I'm generally hearing good things, that it doesn't take them out of it. And I feel the same way. I feel like they do such a good job, or the directors here have done such a great job with these kids. So I wanted to mention that. I love this whole, you put it in the notes here, Tak Rennod's lair, and it has all this stuff, and seeing that lightsaber there was so cool. Our listeners know I've been reading everything High Republic. I thought about that, kind of the gold on it. But, again, it might be older than that. But like Aaron said, we'll stay away from speculation. It got my brain whirling in a very good way, a very fun way. But like Aaron said, it got a lot of questions going. Whose lightsaber is that? Maybe they'll let us know. But I know I'm mirroring a lot of what Aaron said, but I agree with Aaron. Like, I'm very curious to see what they do with these last 3 episodes. And depending on how they end this, one of the things in my head is I'm like, gosh, I would love to see Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni ask John Watts and is it Christopher Ford, Watts and Ford, to do a movie of this. Aaron and I were talking before we started recording, about how after this wraps, we've got Andor starting in April of 2025. And after that, I think we get Ahsoka season 2 at some point, but then of course we've got Mandalorian Grogu. But there's this movement, right? We talked about back, probably they're wanting to go back to the theater, and I would love to see an adventure by this group of kids in the Star Wars universe, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a good sign, right? In terms of final reactions, when I'm sitting here saying I'd like to see a movie versus no, I'm done. When this wraps up, I'm good. No, I want to see more adventures with these young kids and with SM-33.
Oh, absolutely! I would love to see that. And I will go ahead and say Ahsoka will be waiting on Ahsoka for a while, because production on that hasn't even started.
Gotcha.
They're when Mando and Grogu's done, that's when he's starting on Ahsoka, supposedly the next season of Ahsoka. Once he's done with that, but this has been just a tremendous series, and I agree. That would be a fun thing to see these kids on the silver screen, and just keep the adventure going in some way. So
yeah,
let's do it. So, all right. Well, that wraps up our discussion of episode 5 of Skeleton Crew. You have a lot to learn about pirates. We would, of course, love to hear from you and hear your thoughts on this episode and the series as a whole. Of course, you can do that through any of our social media. Of course, we are on Facebook and X at SW Reactions Pod. Then, of course, you could hit us up on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, Pinterest, Tumblr, all at SW Reactions, and find us there. Let us know what you think. Of course, you can always email us, swreactions@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail. You can do that at I completely brain froze for a moment. Caramast, speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions, and leave us a 90-second voicemail there. And of course, you can find all those links in the show notes. David, if somebody wants to talk Star Wars with you, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. Twitter X is at David_Modders, MODDERS. Instagram is just my name, David Modders. And like I've said for many of the previous episodes, if you do send anything, if you want, if it's easier for you, to any of our show social medias, Aaron gets those, and he's passed them on to me before. So just know those are options as well.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to do that. And of course, you can always send me through my personal X at TA Harris 121079, or of course hit me up through any of the show socials, and we can chit chat from there. So, well, David, that brings us to the end of the show, my friend.
All right, that's good. Yeah, let's wrap it up. Nothing else, right?
Oh, dude, come on. It's 2025. Can't end the first episode of 2025, or of course any episode of Star Wars Reactions, without an all-new Star Wars dad joke of the week. And that's right, even though it's 2025, we're still going with it.
Well, hey, I had a little psychology corner in the middle of this episode. So, all right, let's do this. Star Wars dad joke of the week.
Absolutely. Here we go. Why couldn't Grand Moff Tarkin find the rebel base?
I'm actually interested in this. Why couldn't Grand Moff Tarkin find the rebel base?
Because he was looking in Alderaan places.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I have to admit, some are just groaners. That's actually kind of good. Alderaan places.
Alderaan places.
That's nice.
Alderaan. See, if he wouldn't have been looking at Alderaan, he'd have found it.
Oh, nice play on words there, my friend. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. David, my friend, this has been a blast.
Absolutely. We're off to a strong start in 2025.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank y'all so much for joining us again for Star Wars Reactions. Thank you for a wonderful 2024. And we are so excited for an incredible 2025. And we hope you will continue to join us throughout the year. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're praying for y'all, wishing y'all the best. You know, it's a new year. Don't stop being kind to people, man. Let's keep this wheel going. Just keep trying to find times to do something kind to somebody. It will change their life and change yours as well. So remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.